Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video we're gonna paint this landscape painting here. So let's just grab our 7 base colors that we use for this painting here. And we start to mix our palette for the underpainting. Sky is pretty basic, you can see, more or less 2 colors. Yeah, I forgot to hoil out the surface, so I had to do it after I started to paint, but still works fine. We basically have those 2 blue colors here, and we mix them together, more or less in the middle, kind of. So we have a bit of a darker area on the right side and a bit of a lighter area on the left side. And yeah, that's about it for the sky part. Pretty basic. We will add later on some clouds to it. And then we add the colors for the mountain. And you see it's basically just one main color. Added some more, some reddish brown colors, some lighter brown ones. And this basically repeats itself for the whole underpainting. You're getting in the shapes roughly, more or less, by establishing kind of a mid-tone value on each of those color areas that we apply, that we'll use later on to apply the next layer. Yeah, that's how it looks when we are finished. Then I let the whole thing dry and start to paint the cloud area. And we do this basically just with 2 colors that I pre-mixed before, as you can see here. And the underpainting is completely dry, bone dry. And I just dry brush on the next layer of color here. And with this technique you just save a lot of time. By just adding 2 colors more or less, lighter one, darker one. Looks pretty sloppy now, and then we need to go back and rub the color in so that we get rid of those very fine holes that we have in the color itself. And the good thing is about this technique is that you can go back anytime and readjust the colors here and there. Some lighter ones, some darker ones here and there. Using different brushes, as you can see here. Mainly soft ones. No, all of them are soft, as you can see here. But it's a very quick way of building up clouds in a very convincing way. Very soft, very cloudy looking, more or less. Yeah, then I mix the next layer for the mountain part, next set of colors. It's basically the base colors again, some variations. And the mountain part here is a bit tricky because we have parts that are in the shadow areas and parts that are in the sun, more or less. And this will be more visible, more apparently later on. Basically this part here is in the sun area, and it's basically I just established the base location of the colors, those bluish colors for the shadow areas, and this greenish, brownish, yellowish color for the parts that we have in the sunlight areas. And the same goes for the rock parts itself. You see on this part here we have the bit lighter color here that fades out into this bit more bluish, grayish color that represents basically the rock parts in the shadow areas. And the same goes for the grass part that we put in here. And don't forget the details, very important. But don't make them too sharp. So go back and soften them down a bit, more or less. Then we work on the middle ground, this forest part here. basic set of greens with blue color to it, and very dark on the right side. And yeah, see, I go back and add some more greenish, yellowish color to it on the more front part. We again have some clouds, casting a shadow over the mid section of this greenish color here. And you might also see that I also already start to build up those tree details on the front. Basically slapping them on, more or less, a bit, in sloppy style, and going back and, rubbing them in, making them just a bit softer. And then I'll go back and add some more lighter colors here to flesh out more the trees that we have in the foreground that are more lit by the sunlight. And the same goes for the trees that are in the shadow areas, but they still need a bit more, kind of a substance, more of a, they need to be a bit more detailed out. And this is why I go back with a very small brush and start to build up those tree details here. So we basically only have the front part left, and the trees here are way more darker. They are more to the front, and therefore need more contrast. The more you step away from the front, the more blue, basically the more the color of the sky you need to put in. Therefore, it may look off currently a bit too dark, but this really helps to communicate the distance, the air perspective that we have here. With this simple trick, you basically build up depth to a landscape painting. See, I'm adding some very fine details here and there. Over the still wet color that I applied before. If you apply the color not too thick, this is no problem at all. And then we start to build up the grass part, and this is something that people always do wrong, more or less. You see, I have those brownish tones, those lighter brownish tones, some rock parts, some warm greens, some colder greens, some flashback, more details to this brush kind of thing here. And you see it's tiny, but still like to put in this effort to make this really even more realistic. Back to the front part. You want on this meadow here all kinds of different greens, warmer ones, more brownish ones, colder ones, all different kinds of sizes, shapes. And then I go back and start to add those fine bits of grass that we have here and there. And the same goes for the grass itself, more or less. It's not consisting of just one color. We have it's a yellowish color, but I also put in some variants of this, bit more brownish tones to it, lighter tones, colder ones here and there. And also make sure you don't be too don't repeat yourself over and again. This is a wild meadow, more or less, that it needs to be really wild. The grass needs to be in all kinds of directions, all kinds of sizes, shapes. We have some flowers here and there, some bits and pieces, and also make sure that you put in not the whole piece of grass all the time, but get in some, only the tops of those grass pieces here and there, and be completely random with the color and go lighter, darker, different sizes, shapes, forms, and so on. And this will really start to communicate this wild kind of meadow that we have here. Then I go back and add some darker colors here and there, and some darker piece of grass here and there. Again, all kinds of directions, sizes, shapes, forms. Yeah, this really helps to communicate the grassy character that we have here. And the same goes for the right part. And be random. This is, I think, the most important thing when it comes to painting grass. This kind of wild grass that we have here. Adding details here and there. Fine bits and pieces here and there. And we're done. So that's it again for today, but make sure before you leave to check out one of these other two videos here.